time, O2 Blast just almost put themselves in the grand final. And remember, this is kind of funny to see these teams here. It's first place O2 Blast from the regular season versus Gen.G, who got second place. It's incredible that they had to bye to the semis and then found themselves here. So now out the gates, the Symmetra teleporter to get a positional advantage. But out the gates, we will have the Widow Mei from O2 Blast and then the Widow Pharah. And a bit of a different support lineup too. The Mercy Ana, of course, with the Pharah, but a BAP Ana for O2 Blast.
Yeah, O2 Blast, they once again utilize the Symmetra, try to get them forward, get themselves forward quickly, but it's Gen.G with this Pharah Widow. It's just difficult to get into those sidelines. They're just pressuring them down. Krong with a nice pick to start things off, though.
Oh, that's good. And already a first wall from O2 Blast. First cap, though, from Gen.G. O2 Blast watched it happen. Now, how do they re-engage when you have Kaiser missing in action so early on? No shields to protect Krong. There's one left over. But now trying to break this one. Oh, Oberon got slept as he stepped past the shield. Being aggressive, you gotta be careful. Kaiser coming back as the Hammond, trying to re-engage with the team. Gen.G in the skies and on the ground, dominating the fight and extending their lead.
Yeah, we saw how yesterday in both semifinal matches, both of these two teams struggled against the Pharah. This time Gen.G, they're updating their composition. They're just downloading the Pharah and playing it themselves. O2 gonna have to try to deal with it here. Gen.G, I mean, we even saw yesterday how Wakid, you know, we didn't see as much Pharah from him today. I would expect to see a little bit more. I think they are realizing now that this is going to be kind of a challenge here for O2 Blast, pulling this kind of strategy out.
Yeah, a bit of PTSD to have to deal with this Pharah once again in the barrage, making them dream even more, wishing they weren't here, but two, and even the immortality field coming too late. Wakid still also keeps his own life, receiving that nano, and even the support from Bliss cleaning up this fight for Gen.G.
And something that we saw yesterday as well, later on in the series with O2 Blast versus Runaway, was Kaiser and Krong actually kind of coming together very nicely. We saw a lot of synergy on display from them in maps 3 and 4, particularly on Hollywood first point attack. But here, O2 Blast, they're going to have to maintain that level up that they had later after that halftime performance. But against Gen.G, they have to figure out how to play against the Pharah. Both of these teams really did struggle against their opposition in the semifinal.
Trying to place their shield. Now they have the Amp Matrix. See if they can win the shield or what a great hook from Krong. No Bliss. So now, this is where Wakid is going to have less freedom in the skies, but he's still trading. Both supports gone for O2 Blast. Pelican going to lay down the Blizzard. Kaiser dangerously low, finished off by Wakid. Barrage at the ready, rains it down onto Mei, had a heist block ready, and the whole hog from Krong protects his fellow teammate. And at 99%, O2 Blast still working on the flip, and it should happen.
Yeah, they should be able to get this. It seems like the Road Dogg here is going to be staying. That's going to be Woo-Y'all over playing behind Elephant right now, but O2 Blast now in control, and you can see this little dual Glister getting dealt with here. But finally, O2 Blast in control of this point, and you can see Wakid actually swapping over to the Mei. Now we do have a little bit closer to a mirror, right? I mean, here's Glister going to be going over to the Reaper. They're going to actually just go straight to that full-on aggressive pressure forward. I mean, not going really towards the meta, as we are actually going to go with a different style here. Hammond, this says to me that they want to get very, very aggressive, dive onto Proper, put some pressure down onto that backline as well, and just steal this fight away quickly.
Oh, but a first pick from Proper. This is big. He has sights on the point. Everyone tossed up there from Woo-Y'all, but no follow-up. Gen.G just need to take this fight, and they will take the round, but losing Wiki's not a good start. Now Oberon, no shield for Gen.G. O2 Blast get hit by a biotic. They are alive and well. It's a quick reset there for Gen.G, as they did lose a few, and O2 Blast can live another day.
And we are now going over to that Diva pick. Creative now has the Nano Boost available, so while they're not necessarily playing what you would consider the meta with this lineup, they are subbing that Ana in for a Moira, but with having that Nano Boost, that could be something that really helps Glister kind of pop off in this scenario.
And he's gonna engage just with that, make sure Glister is alive. He receives the nano. They use the isolation wall from Wakid, but O2 Blast starting to fall. Everyone, including Pelican, investing the Blizzard. Myungbong with the coalescence. It's not enough to keep this fight alive for O2. 99% there for Gen.G. No one is there to be found from O2 Blast. Krong getting back as the Hammond. You just barely can't touch, and that's 100 to 81.
Yeah, think about the hero pool crossover that the three players in the DPS role that Gen.G have to offer. Glister, Stalker, Wikid. There's just so many different unique combinations that they can go for. You look back at week 7 where we first saw them playing the Mei Reaper, and they had a pretty solid showing playing Stalker on Mei and Wikid actually playing the Reaper. It looked pretty good. That's what we were expecting to see quite a bit here in playoffs, but it's very different. Now we see Glister in the mix instead of Stalker, and the roles are flipped as well. Wikid playing the Mei there, Glister playing the Reaper, and they get the job done. Now we move on into Seongnam, expecting to see a little bit more sniper play here. Gen.G pulling both of them out, Widow and the Hanzo playing these long sight lines.
See how Seongnam goes. Symmetric Teleporter getting a better advantage at the start. What's interesting to me is now the Bap Zen is into play. A little bit more offensive power, shield break. Then you have the Transcendence if there were to be a Mei, but it's going to be double sniper from both teams.
All right, matching up Proper versus Glister. Glister already getting that first pick. Kaiser taken down. That's actually a reoccurrence. We saw quite a bit of that yesterday in the semifinal with Kaiser falling early.
We've seen that both from Oberon and Kaiser walking a little bit past their shield. And in the double sniper situation, that's where you get domed a little bit too much. You get picked first, get hooked first. But Gen.G getting that middle map advantage from keeping their Orisa alive a bit longer. So they'll get to work on that lead now.
Yeah, nobody wants to sit at center map, right? Nobody wants to sit on the control point here against double sniper with these two basically just sitting on opposite ends, creating a crossfire. This flank control is really going to be everything. Oberon pushing forward here. That's going to open things up for Gen.G's snipers. They already have control, so stalemating here definitely going to be benefiting Gen.G.
But Krong did Krong things yesterday. Remember when he's going OTF all the time, and you can see Wuyao kind of keeping his eye on him, but Kaiser wins the Orisa duel. Big advantage now for O2 Blast. Can work to get a shield onto the point. Krong's gonna go for a cap by himself. He's got Pelican by his side. Gen.G gonna fall through and closet and actually let it happen. So Gen.G just taking a second.
Yeah, so puts him right over in top, and that's another couple of picks there for O2 Blast. So as they're already in control of the objective, now they actually force Gen.G all the way back. So they're gonna have to go ahead and collate, come back out once again. And as Gen.G, as they look right now, they're really going to have to rely on these support ults that are going to come up. Ant Matrix going to be able to waste that shield away from Kaiser, and they might look to try to pick that Orisa once more.
And Pelican maybe wants to keep this fight over on this side because the Dragon Strike can maybe funnel them all into it. Doesn't have his Orisa near him, so you can't go for the Halt and Dragon at the moment, but it still spots the opportunity. At least splits off the Orisa from the rest, and there it still catches Oberon. Great first pick for O2 Blast. Will remain in control. Gen.G, it's not going to be a fight they want to take.
I mean, we're nearing 2 minutes in this map already, and I think there's been less than a half dozen kills, and I mean, half of them are just the Orisas. Yeah, exactly. So at this point, you can see that the tempo here is extremely slow, as these teams are really trying to look for these angles, get these picks, and everybody's really just trying to play as safe as possible, so they're not making a mistake. They're not overextending as much as they possibly can help it.
Yeah, O2 Blast taking a few angles. They have the Ant Matrix over on Pillar side. Oberon's like 1 HP. Wherever he is in the world, your team needs you. 73+% for O2 Blast. They did lose one support, but Gen.G, presence on the point, Supercharger there as well for an advantage, and there is Kaiser under fire. Krong there to protect the point, to keep it in control of O2 Blast. He gets a boot to the face, and Gen.G will get the flip in a second.
Yeah, not only that, but they also maintain the Transcendence here from Creative, who actually was fighting on point there. A little dangerous of a position to play from as a Zenyatta, but hey, at least you get the job done. You also maintain that ultimate. That's going to be something that's going to certainly help Gen.G. Unfortunately for them, though, O2 Blast coming up with some options of their own and have plenty of time to build into them. In fact, they have about 40 seconds to do just that. Proper with the infra sights, they have the vision right now. They're looking to flank around the left side. And in the process, they could create an opening, especially with this halt.
And even Immortality Field makes it so Glister cannot be killed. It will go away finally. And Krong still challenging the other side of the map. There's been more battles on the sides of the map rather than in the middle. Still control for Gen.G without Wuyao. You don't have as much of a frontline presence to go and engage that point. It's still the Orisas battling out over on the Pillar side. You see Kaiser getting low, receiving Immortality. Wikid is going to counter that with a Dragon Strike, and there is Wuyao making sure that kill does go through.
Oh, headshot onto Kaiser almost took him out immediately, but you can see the swap from Krong here. He's going to go over to the Hammond. This could be a potentially smart play as he's going to be able to contest the point, stay in ball form. He's not going to be able to get headshot by these snipers. He might actually force them to touch and contest against him and pull the rest of the fight to the point.
And now the fight has to take place on the point. They've been playing around the sides. Now O2 Blast setting up their shield. You have Krong making the space as the Hammond. Proper supporting at the back. Gen.G with half their team missing, including the supports. This is not going to be a fight they can take. And O2 Blast will be forcing a round 3.
It looks like they're going to get the job done here. I don't think anybody can touch, but they have 5 seconds to make it there if they can, and it doesn't seem like that is going to be the case, and that is that. O2 Blast with one of the slowest tempo matches I think I've ever witnessed. They get the job done, but honestly speaking, again, adaptations are going to be key, especially at the beginning of a meta shift, right? You know, being able to spot, hey, we don't have a really solid win condition here. This is going to become difficult. Instead of going into this and trying to grind our face into a brick wall, how about we swap something up? And what they did there was they swapped Krom over to the Hammond. And again, because he's not able to be taken down as easily without a hook combination or something like that to pull him out of ball for him, he cannot be headshot. So he forces the fight to the center of the field, and that allows his snipers to pop off, and that's what gave them the advantage early.
And I think a bright spot for me from O2 Blast is Krong specifically. I think he was a big reason O2 Blast went to Game 5 in the first place, started off on the Diva, and was able to go toe-to-toe with someone like QOQ. And did just that. He was the one playing aggressive and on the flanks, challenging Wuyal, and also having the whole hogs ready. But now in round 3, Wiki is going to bring out the Pharah again. O2 Blast, how are they going to react? Are they going to stick on to the Mei? This will give them maybe a stronger front line, but that's a lot of pressure from Proper to deal with both Glister and Wiki.
It looks like O2 Blast just trying to decide on how they want to swap things up. They know that they have to deal with this Pharah and Wiki. I mean, he's already halfway to the barrage. That's insane. That's going to be something that's going to concern them, and especially when they don't have their Ana to play with, now they actually can't take the fight at all because they simply won't have the sustain to deal with the Pharah's rocket pressure, especially if Wiki's landing those directs and hitting some extra splash damage on surrounding targets. They have to back off. They have to give control away to Gen.G right now, and they have to start thinking of a plan, a strategy to start dealing with this Pharah, especially when that barrage comes online, because simply put, they don't have the defense matrix available.
And just a bigger advantage getting to play this Pharah on the defense. Lots of lines of sight where Wiki can stay safe, and Glister taking these funny angles, staying hidden, is going to be hard. O2 Blast now have to decide, do they want to challenge Glister, maybe pressure down Wiki, and meanwhile the front line has to advance towards the point, which is still slow going without a Lucio and with an Orisa. So O2 Blast creeping out, making sure their supports also know where the Widow is, because Myungbong, that's the second time he's gotten picked at the start of these fights, and that can't happen.
Yeah, they're focusing that pressure onto him for sure. And now, of course, with Gen.G just causing chaos, disrupting everywhere, O2 Blast have nothing left to do but go back to spawn and give it another go here. 58% already and easy cleanups. The DPS for Gen.G now popping off with all the space in the world to do it. I mean, you have to give credit and respect to the rest of Gen.G to offer up these opportunities. But O2 Blast now with at least something. They've got the amplification matrix. They can play for the shield pressure. No divas on either side. So once that amp matrix goes down, you can back over on off. Things will open up. Maybe your DPS could get something done at that point.
And I think O2 Blast, their chance is to get to point as quick as possible and use just the walls to stay protected from all the aerial damage coming in from Gen.G. But Myungbong, the third time he's been picked first. Again, not the guy's fault, but oh, a barrage from behind. They didn't even see it coming. But another clean fight for Gen.G, 93% plus. There's pretty much no way they're touching. An absolutely flawless round from them will be 100-0 and claiming map 1 in this first of 3.
And I have to say, to be perfectly candid with everybody, what a head scratcher of a first map, right? I mean, a lot of back and forth, really low tempo Sanctum match, and then domination with Gen.G playing the Pharah. They looked pretty solid on that first round as well, playing the Pharah, and were able to close that one out. But Gen.G showing off that while, hey, maybe they didn't fully understand how they wanted to play against the Pharah yesterday, at least today they're just playing it themselves and kind of exposing O2 Blast in the same regard.
It was, again, how it's been a trend with all the teams almost in the playoffs of Korea, and even sometimes in Overwatch League. How do you deal with a Forde? Do you stick through the Mei? They stuck through the Mei, thinking they could play towards the point, get the advantage with the walls to just protect themselves that way. But when you got Youngbom getting picked in 3 fights in a row, your main source of healing, of course they had a Baptiste, but without an Ana, you're just already at a disadvantage. It wasn't going to happen. But there is still a map 2 and plenty of more Overwatch to come. We'll see you guys after this quick break. Welcome back, everybody, to the 3rd place match between Gen.G and O2 Blast. And crazy again to see the 1st and 2nd place team here, but they're battling for the last spot in Gauntlet. So far, so good, though, for Gen.G, starting off 1-0, and it did go to a round 3 on the Paul.
Yeah, I mean, from what we saw, it was actually a huge shift from Gen.G specifically. I mean, yesterday, a little bit of a battle trying to play against Faraz. I mean, struggles against playing certain matchups throughout. I mean, of course, against Element Mystics specifically. But, you know, over the course of this round, it seems like just as we saw yesterday, they certainly there were some emotions not being able to make it to the finals, but they've shaken all that off. They're feeling good today, and they're proving that they can adapt. They can make sure that they can put Wiki back on that Pharah. Wuyao is still playing insanely consistent at the moment, and Gen.G looking fairly solid so far.
For sure. And you can see how focused, and you got high fives going on. It's so great to have a LAN final too, to be able to see your teammates face to face, have that energy from the crowd back you up, as we will be heading into Temple of Anubis for our map 2. This is O2 Blast's choice.
So now Temple of Anubis. We move on into Assault. And, you know, yesterday, O2 Blast, there were some mishaps on the Temple of Anubis. If we're being honest, O2 Blast, we saw them go to this map. This was their choice yesterday as well. But hey, I mean, O2 Blast, they had some moments where they really wanted to focus on that shield pressure. They opened up. They had the sight lines. They pushed Runaway off of that high plateau position. But once they did that, they weren't able to rotate. They weren't able to, you know, take that advantage, that opportunity, and run with it. Later in the series, we saw a lot more of that. We saw O2 Blast making sure that they could shore up those mistakes after that halftime. Now we'll see probably O2 Blast, at least for their sake, you know, shoring up those same mistakes once again here. We'll see a lot faster play from them in terms of reacting to some of those opportunities that may be given from Gen.G.
Yeah, Gen.G especially, I think definitely O2 Blast choosing this map because Gen.G got full held yesterday. And a lot of time spent trying to reset up this Orisa shield, not even playing Mei on the defense, which was maybe strange in this meta, especially how you can use the walls around these choke points on Anubis. But out the gates, Wiki on the Junkrat. Let them see if these guys are defending first, but Wiki also played Junkrat yesterday when it came to the defense, and a Widowmaker from both teams would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, Widowmaker on either side, definitely not going to be a surprise. However, O2 Blast at the moment, you can see how, you know, they're playing this composition, or at least they've got it slotted at the moment for their attack. This is something that we did see from them, I believe, on defense yesterday, and I loved this composition from O2 Blast. I mean, this is a different approach, but it is something that we saw from, you know, Element Mystic. This is something that Gen.G specifically struggled with, but Pelican looked phenomenal on the Genji yesterday. So it does seem as though O2 Blast is going to turn up the tempo quite a bit from that Sanctum match that we saw earlier.
But Glister
and they are going to be
just changed now, so he's late to the party.
But here we have a dive going up against that Junkrat. They have the high ground control with the Orisa, so you do have to try to claim that space and push them off of it. And that's going to be a difficulty here for them, especially as, you know, when you rotate around, you get set into those pre-rotations. You know, you try to get into a position where you can actually go and execute the dive. You have to make sure that you're watching out for Wikid. You're watching out for those halts, locking you in. Wuyao is going to be able to prevent a lot of that damage. Creative can toss in a biotic. So there's a lot of things that O2 Blast still has to worry about here when diving in.
But I like that there's also a trap from Wikid right next to Glister, because he's going to be the target that O2 Blast are going for. There's at least some protection there, and depends on if Gen.G are going to go for a split defense. You can see the Diva from Wuyao on the other side, giving some space for Bliss to also run to if there were to be a dive in the support's direction. There's many angles they can take. O2 Blast, like you said, still finding an angle into which they want to initiate.
Yeah, Temple of Anubis, point A attacks. When you're running dives, it's all about setting up with rotations. It's, you know, you have to send your Gen.G in close enough so that they can swift strike in, or at least hold the swift strike for an execute. You have to get your tanks into position. It just takes time. So far, it's taken them a minute and a half. It might take a little longer here, but Gen.G, you can expect, are going to be ready. The tire's going to be coming up soon. You see Oberon, Wuyao ready to accept that blow.
Oh, and blowing them all away as soon as they went for that dive, dropping down to the low ground. Biotic also from the high ground. Creative denying those resources. O2 Blast accepting possibly the first tick. And also getting rid of that mech from Wuyao. Gen.G have the tire. We keyed with 2. Could go for more, but this is already maybe a dead fight for O2 Blast. Losing that much. Still, now Myungbong is under fire. Nobody really there that can help him. He wants to get out of that as much as possible, but O2 Blast looks like they're still committing.
And that's into Gen.G, who has a lot of ultimates to play off of that can extend the fight even further. Sure, O2 Blast can get back quickly, and of course they can extend that fight themselves, but Gen.G hanging in there. On top of that, they also have the Mercy, so they can get those Resurrects. They can have that tire available, and Wikid from up top, basically uncontested in a lot of these situations like you saw there. You know, he's going to be a problem for them. If they're not able to deal with Wikid, he's going to be able to freely generate those tires and find double kills. That's going to give Gen.G the advantage defensively.
And it was more like what O2 Blast did when their dive didn't work, and already getting a headshot early. Kaiser has to be careful. But O2 Blast working up towards the Nano Blade. Krong going down. This is kind of surprising too that he's taking that much damage. His movement really isn't being canceled, so O2 Blast can still initiate, just again getting into the right position and getting Pelican the first or the next few percentage points to get to that blade.
Yeah, they're trying to wait for Proper to get into position so that they can dive together, but it's been a struggle. In fact, he's actually having to push himself through with the use of his ultimate, and now they go.
What a collapse onto Glitzer, but we keep with the tire, stops Pelican. And the Nano Blade was something they were working towards, and Bliss able to go for the Resurrect. Wuyao with the double kill, self-destruct. Gen.G's defense is unstoppable at the moment. O2 Blast down to their last 30 seconds. It's coming down to their last chance, or they will get full health.
Yeah, you have to wonder, I mean, there's not really a good shot if you swap your composition now. At the moment, you're kind of all in. You got 20 seconds left. You've got a blade. You have no nano boost. Now you're just going to go all in, try to dive in with the blade and see what you can get done. Hope that Proper comes up big as well. But simply put, O2 Blast with not a lot of options here, and another tire at the ready for Wikid.
And because of fights, Wikid is still going for the tire. What victim is he gonna find? And Pelican, who is going for Bliss. He can't even believe it. He's been wanting to use that blade for 2 fights. O2 Blast, no mech for Krong. Mondu down, Myungbong with a nano. Is there anyone to even receive it? Gen.G using everything they have left in the bank to full hold O2 Blast. This was a team that made grand finals last season, a showdown presence from them. And Gen.G standing tall, cleaning up the rest of O2 Blast. Gliss is still popping heads. And O2 Blast gonna go through the same struggles that Gen.G did yesterday.
Oh no. Temple of Anubis, the full hold. Gen.G dominating. You can see how O2 Blast has, I mean, you would have to feel frustrated at that point. You would absolutely have to feel frustrated. You go for that attack. It's something that you expected to work out. You know, unfortunately, they just didn't have a lot of their ultimate rotations in check. A lot of their dives were, I mean, they had a couple of targets where you saw 2 or 3 diving in, but ideally you'd have 4 there. You know, all of those, both tanks, you would want both DPS going onto those targets and actually finding and executing those kills, but they weren't getting them that often. It took them a long time to get into position. A lot of those pre-fight rotations were just dealt with every single time.
Look at the replay. Dealt with every single time. I think Pelican frustrating this series and even in the last one. Against Runaway, Pelican, when Gen.G and even Yaki was his biggest rival or his biggest threat in that match, when he went far and Pelican would go for blades on this exact map, and then he got barraged. So for him to deal with Wikid's tires, it's Pelican not having a fun time on Gen.G at all.
All right, so now it's O2 Blast's turn here. We once again have Pelican returning to the Gen.G. And defensively, this is actually where he popped off yesterday, where we saw a decent performance from him. Proper now on the Widow, so we could indeed see that Widow versus Widow matchup. But, I mean, it just has to make you wonder, you know, Gen.G, with what they did in 24 hours, let's just say Gen.G winds up making their way into
Leveled
Gauntlet.
up.
What could this team look like come Gauntlet, right? And just 24 hours to see a turnaround like this? That's insane.
Yeah, for them, but they still, I mean, still have to get the 33%. So a full hold and a draw is still very possible.
Get your telescopes out.
Gen.G, I know, get the telescopes out. Do we see it? But I'm liking this comp from Gen.G. You've got the Mei Reaper, Lucio Moirai. This means they want to get to the point as fast as possible. Use the resources, the damage mitigation of the Diva to stay alive. But O2 Blast want to deny that. They have proper on the Widow. See if you can find some shots onto those supports. But Gen.G now to the high ground, forcing O2 Blast up and away.
Oh, they were explosive on that one. Use the Mei wall and that little jump puzzle that you can use to get up to Plat, and they're just pushing their way through. Creative's still alive as well, so they have a lot of sustain here.
Glister found your supports. You gotta run. I hope you can hit that sleep. And Pelican already has a blade. That's incredible. Can he save this fight for O2 Blast? Gen.G down a few, but taking care of the supports of O2 Blast. Is this good? Gen.G still have now a Coalescence. They have Glister alive and well. O2 Blast recontesting. Not a lot of members, but they have Mondu. But he's the only one who can really touch this point. Proper now back into the fight. But still, how do you stop Gen.G with this composition once they've gotten up to the point? The answer is you can't. Gen.G now will take the lead in the series 2-0.
So we started gameplay, I don't know, 30 minutes ago or so. This is looking a lot like the Gen.G matchup versus Element Mystic yesterday. This could be over in another 15 minutes with how this has started. Gen.G is completely turned around. We see how this is basically this is a massive pivot from what we saw yesterday. They have definitely downloaded exactly how to play in this meta, and they're taking O2 down quickly.
Yeah, O2 Blast definitely, this is strange for them. And Gen.G taking notes about how Element Mystic had the Genji and the Doomfist and everything that was thrown at Gen.G. They learned and they adapted, and they're looking for the 3-0. We're going to see you guys after this short break.